Hello students, how are you doing? Are you fine? I hope so. So this is Mr. Ahmed from the English department at AMS, and today we're gonna learn some basics about poetry. So here we have a picture for a very famous writer. Do you know him? Yes, Shakespeare. What do you know about Shakespeare? Is he a writer? Yes. Okay, what kinds of writing did he used to write? Plays and poetry. So poetry is the kind of writing that we're gonna talk about today. So what is poetry? Is it a kind of writing? Exactly. Okay, is it a kind of literature? Of course. Okay, so here we have two definitions. One of them is for poetry and the other one is not related to poetry. I want you to pause the video and try to figure out the right definition for poetry. Okay, so the right definition for poetry here is definition number 1, which is a type of writing in which words are arranged based on their meaning, sound, and rhythm to share ideas and feelings. So poetry is not like any kind of writing. It has a kind of music in it. The words are used according to the sound they make and the meaning they give. Poetry is mainly written to express ideas, feelings, and emotions. So for example, here we have, a piece of writing, and this piece of writing we call it a poem, and the writer of the poem, we call him the poet. Okay, so this is the person who writes poetry, like Shakespeare. Okay, so when you read, the poem, you're gonna feel the music. So just listen. Do not stand on my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. Am a thousand winds that blow, and the diamond glints on snow. So this, the lines in this poem are arranged together in a harmony. That's why we can call it a song. And the poem is sometimes divided into stanzas, and the stanzas are a group of lines that have the same idea. Okay, so here we have this poem which is divided into 3 stanzas, and each stanza contains 4 lines. So the line is part of the stanza. So for example, here we have I am the sunlight on ripened grain. So this is a line, and this is part of the first line of stanza number 2. Okay, now let's talk about the rhyme scheme. And the rhyme scheme is the same sounds given at the endings of the lines. We show that they rhyme by giving the same symbols. And each stanza in a poem has got a particular rhyme scheme. So for example, this poem, when you read the first line of the first stanza, do not stand on my grave and weep. So you're gonna find out that the eep sound, at the end of this line is similar to the sound of the next line in the word sleep. So we're gonna give both of them the same symbol. Okay, and we have also the O sound at the end of the third line in the word blow, and also we have the same sound at the end of the fourth line in the word snow. So we're gonna give both of them the same symbol, which is B. So the rhyme scheme for this stanza would be A, B, B. Okay? And next we have the second stanza, and at the end of the first line of this stanza you're gonna find the sound ain in the word grain, and also we have the same sound at the end of the next line in the word rain. So we're gonna give both of them the same letter. Okay, and we have the word the sound ush in the words bush and rush. So we're gonna give both of them the same letter or the same symbol. So it's gonna be D. So the rhyme scheme of this stanza would be C, C, D, D. Now let's move to the figures of speech. And the figures of his speech are the beautiful images that the poet uses to express ideas clearly, more effectively, and more beautifully, such as simile, metaphor, hyperbole, and personification. So let's talk first about simile. And simile is the figurative language that the poet uses to compare two different things uh, by using as or like. So, for example, I wandered lonely as a cloud. So here we have a comparison between the poet himself and the cloud. So this is a different thing, okay? And he used, the word as. Next, we have a comparison between the room and the jungle, which is a different thing from the room itself. And the poet here used the word like, so this is what we call simile. Next, we have metaphor, and metaphor is somehow similar or close to the simile, but we don't use the words as and like here, okay? So metaphor is a comparison between two different things without using as or like. For example, her shoes are skis. So here the poet is comparing her shoes to the skis, which is, a wooden board that you use to slide over snow, and this is a different thing from the shoes itself. Okay, so the poet here didn't use as or like, so this is metaphor, this is not, simile. Okay, the boy is a real fox. So the poet is comparing the boy to a fox, okay, which is a different thing, and he didn't use as or like here, so this is what we call metaphor. Now let's move to personification, and personification is, the figurative language in which the poet gives the quality of people to things or ideas. For example, Ambezi say the sea. So here the poet gave the quality of being able to speak to the sea, which is a non-living thing. Okay, the snowflake danced, and the poet here used the quality of being able to dance with the snowflake, which is a non-living thing and it's not actually able to dance in real life. So this is what we call personification, giving quality of people to non-living things. Next we have hyperbole, and hyperbole is the figurative language that the poet, in which the poet exaggerates to emphasize his ideas or confirm his opinions. For example, I told you 1,000 times. So here the poet is trying to emphasize the idea of telling you, okay? So he used exaggeration by saying 1,000 times, okay? I was hungry that I could eat a horse. That doesn't mean that you are gonna eat a horse, but it actually means that you are so hungry, okay? So the poet here, used exaggeration to emphasize the idea of being so hungry. Okay, next we have the poetic devices. And the poetic devices are the tools that the poet uses to make his lines more attractive, such as alliteration, contrast, onomatopoeia, assonance. And so in order to make your poem more attractive for the reader or the listener, you need to use more poetic devices. Okay, so let's talk first about the contrast. And the contrast is, so it's the figurative language in which the poet uses words and their opposites to make the meaning clear. For example, blowing here and blowing there. So we have the word here and the word there. They are opposites. So the poet used them to make the meaning clear. And we also have up and down. So the word up is the opposite for the word down, and we can call this is contrast, okay, because we have opposites. So now let's talk about alliteration. Alliteration is, the poetic device in which the poet repeats the same consonant at the beginning of different words on the same line to give music which appeals our sense of hearing. Okay, so for example, Curly cooked a casserole. So we have the k sound here is repeated in the word, Curly and cooked and casserole. So we have this consonant sound repeated at the beginning of these words, okay, and they are on the same line, so this is for sure alliteration. And also we have this line, will, wanted, warm weather. So we have the w sound here is repeated at the beginning of every word in this line, so this is alliteration. Now let's talk about onomatopoeia. An onomatopoeia is the poetic device in which a word that sounds like, in which the poet uses a word that sounds like what it describes. For example, we have the word mew, and the word mew describes the sound of a cat. So the word itself sounds like the action, okay, itself, or the thing that it describes, okay? So we have also the word click. So when you click, a button, for example, it's gonna sound like the word click. So this is onomatopoeia. Okay, and we have also the word buzz, which is the sound of bell. Okay, so the bell itself make the sound of the word buzz. Okay, so this is what we call onomatopoeia. So this is the end of today's session. I just wanted you to watch the video again, take some notes, work hard, study smart, stay home, stay safe, and see you soon, inshallah.